Hi, welcome to Navigating the Truth. It is April 2nd, 2023, and my guest today is John Savage. John Savage is a paranormal investigator, and I'm delighted to have him on the show. So enjoy.
We interrupt to bring you this.
We've hijacked your daily dose of regurgitated news to bring you Navigating the Truth. Brace yourself, listeners, as you're about to enter a world where the narrative is no longer masqueraded as the truth. A world where the conspiracies of yesterday's translate into the truths of today.
Are you listening?
The veils covering the truth are lifting, and understandings once suppressed are finally being revealed. Will you be ready? And now, your host and navigator through these circles of lies, the host of Navigating the Truth, Caroline Bell Tumblety.
Hello, welcome to Navigating the Truth, and thank you to all the listeners who have decided to join us today. I do owe you an apology for last week's abrupt ending. I just ran out of time, and I apologize for that. And today, I have somebody very, very special. And I first heard about John Savage on a show. It was a couple of years ago, maybe 2020, and it was on KCOR, and it was Solaris. And Solaris Blue Raven, so I have her to thank for this guest. She encouraged me to reach out to him, which I did. And John Savage is joining us today. John is the founder of the Minnesota Paranormal Investigators, formed in 1990, which is the longest-running paranormal group in the state of Minnesota. He is also the founder of the Virginia, Minnesota Paranormal Investigators Group, located in the Hampton Roads of Virginia. He has over 30 years of experience as a paranormal investigator, has traveled over throughout the States and Europe investigating the paranormal. He has investigated many locations across the United States, including the Sunken Road battlefield, Fredericksburg, Virginia, and the Cold Harbor battlefield in Cold Harbor, Virginia, the historic Mounds Theater in the St. Paul, Minnesota, and the, I'm going to mess this up, Villisca Axe murder house. He has also investigated the Ramas Inn in Wotton-under-Edge, England, and Bolebroke Castle in Hartfield, East Essex, England, and the tombs of the kings in Paphos, Cyprus. His group is now investigating the historical Fort Monroe in Hampton, Virginia. He and his wife are also writing a new book about the haunting at Fort Monroe. He has been trained by Echo Bodine, who is known internationally for her work as a spiritual healer and teacher for ghostbusting, and uses the following abilities in his cases: clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsentience. At times, John has performed channeling and acted as a medium. John uses a very logical approach when it comes to investigating a location that is presumed haunted. He looks for a normal explanation before jumping into the paranormal realm. John also became an ordained minister in 2012. Welcome, John.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Yeah, this is fantastic. I'm so glad you could join me today. And a big thank you.
Oh, pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
Now, how did you get into all this? Like, what was the motivator?
Well, I kind of stumbled into it. As a kid, I used to live in Germany, and I had my very first ghost encounter at a place called Liechtenstein Schloss, which is in southern Bavaria. And that's when I actually saw my very first full body apparition.
Oh.
But I didn't know it at the time. And what happened was we were on this tour of the castle, and we were looking into one of the rooms, and I saw two cavaliers standing there. Oh. And I thought they were just part of the tour, and I thought nothing of it. Well, we went up the stairs to the next level, and there they were again.
Hmm.
And I'm like, wow, that's pretty quick of how fast they got upstairs. So after the tour was done, I asked the tour guide, um, about these Cavaliers.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, we don't have anyone dress up like that. We don't have any reenactors. And that's what got me started about thinking about the paranormal, about spirits and ghosts.
Wow.
But it,
So, sorry,
Mhm.
go ahead.
but it wasn't until the late 1900s. My kids got me saying that again. Late 1990s, when I really started getting into the paranormal. I worked in a house that was a group home for the mentally handicapped, and the house was haunted, and I didn't know about it. And I witnessed like a apparition of a head floating in the room. We had
Whoa.
a couple of our clients who were mentally challenged. They had an IQ maybe of a third, fourth grader at times.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them kept talking to someone named Mary Ann.
Hmm.
And the staff would gave me heads up, he talks to someone named Mary Ann, and that's his imaginary friend. Well, I was staying there one night and I fell asleep in the chair and I could see myself from behind my head, like I'm standing on the staircase looking into the living room.
Mm-hmm.
And all I heard was a voice saying, yes, that's me. I'm Mary Ann.
Wow. Wow.
And that's how I got in touch with Echo Bodine just by
Mm-hmm.
chance. I ran into her brother at one of the stores, and from the mediumship side, that's where she started helping me with my spiritual journey into the paranormal. So I had to combine both the scientific side and the metaphysical side.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's necessary. It's such a huge subject for one thing, and that's the thing that I recognized with you, like during the show that I listened to, was the deep respect that you hold towards the spirit realm, and that I'm guessing, well, no guessing, that comes for like your training, obviously.
Well, it is, but it also comes down to just basic respect for the
Mm-hmm.
spirit world. I mean, these are souls of people who were alive and who is alive but on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
And I treat them like I treat everyone else, with utmost dignity and respect.
Well, you're actually ahead there because I don't think a lot of people do that, like and I'm basically referring to the mainstream kind
Hmm.
of ghost hunting that goes on, which is oh, I don't know. I think it causes more problems than it solves.
It does.
Mhm.
And I mean, I get it.
Mhm.
There are a lot of great places to investigate,
Oh yeah.
but at the same time, you have to balance that with respect. I
I
mean,
agree.
I'll give you an example. Here in the States, we have a place called Waverly Hills
Mhm.
Sanitarium. And it's one of the hot spots of paranormal activity. Every paranormal group in the States will go there to investigate, which is fine. If you want to experience something, I have no problems. But my problem is when you're going to a place like a sanitarium or a hospital or even a battlefield, for example.
Mhm.
When you have groups of people constantly going through and through, you're not really investigating. You're turning it into a circus act. You're paying
Yeah.
someone to, I would say, torment these poor souls. You know,
Mm.
like Waverly Hills, again, it was a sanitarium. These are souls of someone's mother, brother, dad, sister, uncle, whatever, who are stuck there. And now
Yeah.
you have people, you know, selling a circus ticket to go see them perform. And to me, that's not right. That's morally and ethically wrong.
I agree. I totally agree 100%. I have a question.
Hmm.
Like when you said that you saw the apparition of a head floating and also the Cavaliers, Do you see them like, is it like solid? Do they look solid or do they look ghostly?
The Cavaliers that I saw were as solid as if I was looking at you.
Mm.
The apparition of the head, it was more of a transparent. I mean, I
Hmm.
could see the features, but I could also see the wall that was on the other side of the head.
Right.
So there was some mass to it, but it wasn't like a solid. But most of the time when I see a spirit, I'll see them. How can I explain it? I see them in my mind, but I
Hmm.
also can see them as they're standing there in front of me.
Wow, that's quite a gift.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and also you use equipment. What kind of equipment do you use, like when you go on an investigation? Like, what is some of the stuff that you would take with you?
Well, I have a whole arsenal of tools that I use. I'll use everything from magnetometers to EMF meters. I've got sensors that I use to
Hmm.
measure EMF field on real time so I can data log it. Um, I will also use my dowsing rods.
Hmm.
I will use some of the new tools that are out there, like the SLS cameras. I'll use radios. One device that I'm working on now is called a theremin device,
Oh.
and it's actually designed to make music. It's think of a REM pod,
Hmm.
but if you put your hands near it, you can make musical tones.
Right.
And I've been using that on investigations, and I've gotten some really good results from it.
So how does it work? Like, what happens?
Well, with the theremin, all it is it's an antenna. You can have a X, Y, Z, X and Z antenna, one going up, one going horizontally.
Hmm.
And if you put your hands near it, your hands will disturb the magnetic field, which will give it a tone.
Ah, okay.
And you
Yep.
can people actually use this as a musical instrument.
Oh, fascinating.
And it has a really good range, probably about I would say 6 to 9 inches away from the antenna. You can change the pitch, you can change the volume with your hands by moving your hands up and down. But, anyways, so what I've been doing is I'll have spirit come in and communicate through this device by using different tones.
Wow. Do you interpret the tones? Like, is
Well,
it
well, what I've been doing is just using yes and no questions.
okay? Yep.
If you're a female, raise the tone to a higher level,
Ah, okay.
and
Yep.
I'll demonstrate the tone that I'm looking for with my hands,
Hmm.
so they can mimic the sounds that I'm looking for. Other times I'll just let it run, just let it sit in the room, and
Hmm.
I'll let spirit just come by and just change the magnetic fields and make a tone that they want to hear.
Wow. That's fascinating. That really is. Like, that's a really interactive like device.
It is. I mean, the thing is with the paranormal right now, if you look at a lot of the paranormal groups, they have all these neat little gadgets, but all they do is light up and make noise.
Hmm.
They don't really do anything scientific. They don't really do anything that helps the spirit to communicate.
Right.
I mean, another device that I'm working on is using Morse code.
Oh, I love that.
You know, the little Morse code device that you tap your finger on and it makes the
Hmm. Hmm.
okay. I'm using the exact same device. I'm trying to get the spirits to trigger that switch,
Is
so
it?
I can
Yeah.
hear another tone. So I'm trying to find ways to better communicate with the spirits and have them communicate with us also.
Wow. I remember you might be familiar with this. Do you remember, like, I remember reading old history about when they first put in the telegraph poles
Hmm.
all through the States. And what was happening was people were hearing conversations in their kitchens or
Yep.
in their living rooms. Like, how does that happen?
I mean, Tesla had the same thing when he was
Mm-hmm.
working with radio. He would pick up conversations, as he would say, from the other side
Yeah.
or from outer space. Edison designed the telephone basically to communicate with the dead.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So there is something there. It's just we have to expand their ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. Experiment, like, because it has something to do with the ground. Like, there's something with the ground.
Well, I think it has to do with more of the EMF field of the
Mm-hmm.
Earth itself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they're able to communicate. I mean, that's why people using like SB boxes, spirit boxes,
Yeah.
radio sweep boxes, because there is something there in that frequency that the spirits can communicate through. We just haven't really fine-tuned it to what frequency that works better for them.
Mm-hmm. So, like, we're still using like the FM, right? Like,
Hmm.
it's radio frequencies that we're looking for, like where the static is and the like the white noise they would call it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the radio frequency spectrum is what we listen to is so small compared to the whole frequency range that we're
Mm-hmm.
only hearing a small bit. I mean, you have ultra frequencies, which is in a, higher than, I think it's like 1K kilohertz or above our normal hearing. Um, so there's a lot of stuff that we can do to experiment with radio frequencies and having spirits communicate with us through real time.
Yeah. Well, like the obvious thing is like a dog will hear like those dog whistles, like, and
Hmm.
we hear nothing, you know, like the high pitchedness. I'm wondering, like, with the switch that we've been going through, like for the analog to the digital, are you noticing any difference?
Um, I get better results on analog than I do with digital.
Yeah.
I think that's because with going to digital, which is just binary numbers, zeros and ones, it's all computerized, that it's filtering out a lot of the noises that we need to hear.
Okay.
But then again, there are software that can take the high frequency range noises and bring it down to our frequency so we can hear it.
Ah, I see. Wow, it's really fascinating, and it's grown quite a bit. Like back in the day when they would sit around a table and have a
Yeah.
séance, right? It's kind of like, and I knew it happened, but like there's a lot like equipment, and so like when you say like sanatoriums, I would think that they would be heavily haunted
Hmm.
and battlefields.
Yes. But you know what? Almost any place you go to can be haunted.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to have a traumatic event for it to be paranormally active. Most of the cases that I've worked on over the past 30 years has been private investigations, working in people's homes and things like that. And what I found out is that a spirit will return to a location. Let's say a house, for
Mm-hmm.
example. Nothing ever bad happened. There was no murders or anything. It's just haunted. And the reason why is the owners who probably built that house,
Mm.
that was their heaven, if you would. That was their life. And as they passed on to the next realm, they returned to a place that brought them happiness, which is always home.
Hmm.
I'm a firm believer, and this is what I've been told through my spirit guides, is that the term heaven is what you create is very true. When you pass over, you return to your version of heaven, which could be the house that you lived in, where you brought up your children, where
Mm-hmm.
you had the fondest memories. So the spirits return to their form or their version of what heaven is. And that's why a lot of places are haunted.
Huh. That makes some sense. I think the question that I would have is the heaven and the home. I understand that. But I also would think that a spirit, like as we pass, we become something else. Right? There's no death. We become something else. And I would think like moving to the next level would be the motivator. But what you're saying is the thoughts that a person will have in its lifetimes, like in regards to like their living environment is their heaven, that will influence where they will go. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's once we cross over, the soul has the choice of what it wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
Does it want to continue on to the next lesson, reincarnation?
Mm-hmm.
Does it need to heal on the other side? Does it need to become a spiritual helper for those who are here on earth? Or do they just want to live for whatever time they want in a place that brought them comfort and joy before they need to move on to the next level, if they want to move on?
Right. Yeah, it's really, really interesting because I wonder how the house would appear to them, like much like what it was in life, I would think. But I would think that there would be some differences.
Yes, some of the cases that I've investigated, the spirits would be really upset. It's like, why are they tearing down this wall?
Okay.
Why are they doing this? And as a medium and also as an investigator, we have to convey that they're fixing this house to make it look better than it was.
Mm-hmm.
To make it, to make into their home. And I tell homeowners that if they're doing a big project in the house and they get an urge to paint a room a certain way, that's usually spirit saying, hey, I like this wall be painted green. Or, or put a door here instead of putting it over there.
So they're communicating with the people, yeah, in a kind of nice way.
In a nice way, yeah. But then there are some that will say, "This is my house. How dare you mess it up?"
Oh, okay. We're coming up on a break right now, and hang on to your seats. We'll be right back, listeners.
You're listening to Navigating the Truth with Caroline Bell Tumblety, where the truth survives and the lies are exposed.
I just want to assure you that everything is under control. There's been no damage except for some temporary malfunction of the radio.
Come be a part of this awakening by joining us in chat or by calling our hotline at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers, find us on Skype at KCOR Radio.
We're pushing the ultimate frontier here.
Control must be maintained.
More disinformation exposed and the truth discovered. After a word from our sponsors.
1 million miles till midnight. A story of timelines, artificial worlds, simulated races, and the galactic imprint. And the destiny of a blue world called Earth. 1 million miles till midnight, written by Solaris Blue Raven, is a journey through the mind's eye which allows the reader to surf a wave of technological and multidimensional intellect, revealing a bridge between conscious design and the truth. A multidimensional bleed-through awakens the world of artificial intelligence to set sail into the frontiers of a vast multiverse, morphing planets and terraforming ascended worlds beyond the linear programs of a fated race. 1 million miles till midnight will awaken, inspire, prepare, and enlighten one to the many multidimensional states of consciousness and worlds we reside in. With every cell and atom, we are this truth and multiverse. 1 million miles till midnight. Written by Solaris Blue Raven. Available now at Amazon.com. Don't wait. Get your copy today.
1, 2, 3, 4.
To the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
I love the way it sounds. Love the music. I listen all day.
The future of radio is here and now.
Alien Deceptions, a suspenseful sci-fi romance thriller by Tina Marie, featuring the tantalizing Erica Jones and the mysterious Russell Hamilton. An out-of-this-world book of fiction based on years of document facts and files the government does not want you to know about, at least not yet. Alien Deceptions by Tina Marie. Available now at Amazon.com or get a signed copy at TinaMarieEntertainment.com. Get your copy now.
Change your frequency, change your life with the Lemurian Plug. The Lemurian Plug is easy to control, simple to set up, and wireless. It helps to neutralize toxins and has restorative frequencies for healing. It also helps to protect you and your family from EMFs. The Lemurian Plug is energy efficient and designed using ancient technology for a superior design. One unit can cover up to 1,000 square feet. This life-changing product is reasonably priced. And isn't your family's health worth a small investment? For more information on the miraculous effects of this plug or to purchase the Lemurian Plug, visit thelemurianplug.com. That's thelemurianplug.com. The Lemurian Plug is like nothing you've ever experienced. Order yours today.
Vegas, baby.
Vegas' #1 source for talk and new music.
How cool is that?
Going live in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Navigating the Truth, the one show that peels back the masks of the elite and exposes the truth we're not being told.
Here to warn you. You must not abuse the power you've been given. Eventually, you will lose control of that power and the whole world will suffer.
Come partake in the awakening by calling the show at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Those around the world, connect with us on Skype at KCOR Radio. Follow us on Twitter at KCOR Radio or use hashtag KCOR. Come engage in the discussion live in our chat room at www.kcorradio.com.
Our survival depends upon it.
Now, back to examining the narratives and uncovering the truth with your host of Navigating the Truth, Caroline Bell Tumblety.
Hello, welcome back to Navigating the Truth, and I have a terrific guest with me today. I have John Savage, and right before the break, we were talking about the nice hauntings, and then you were moving on to the not so nice hauntings.
The not so nice hauntings. I mean, you can have a spirit who's very angry, who never crossed over. In fact, let me do this. Let me give you two definitions: a spirit and a ghost. A spirit is a soul that has passed over to the other side, but has returned back to this level. A ghost is someone who's died, but has not made that transition yet.
Okay.
So the majority of the hauntings that I've come across, I would say it's like a 50-50 mix of a spirit and a ghost. The ones that are haunted by a ghost are the ones that are the most active. They're the ones who are usually throwing things around, Those are the ones where people say, God, I'm in this house and I start getting angry, getting upset, people's attitudes changing. That's usually because of a ghost, which is sad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and this is where a lot of investigators get into trouble, is making that distinction between the spirit and the ghost and their intentions. Everyone thinks that if you're in a house that's haunted and you have things being thrown about or doors opening and closing, can't talk today, chairs moving, it's an evil spirit. And it's not. 9 times out of 10, a spirit or a ghost at first will try to make contact with a person. And they can only do it in a certain way. They can't walk up to you and me and say, hi, my name is Joe, I'm the ghost. So they have to do something to get your attention. And think of it as a child in a toy store saying, Mom, I want this toy. And a mom ignores the kid. Well, what's going to happen with the kid? It's going to get louder and louder and throw a temper tantrum. Same thing with a haunting. The more you ignore it, the more of an increase of activity you're going to have, because they're trying to get your attention. And once you acknowledge their existence, 9 times out of 10, the activity will start to decrease.
Yeah, because they're being acknowledged.
Exactly. They're like, okay, you acknowledge I'm here. You can sense me to a point that I'm here. Now I'm going to try and communicate in a different way. And I tell clients that when that happens, you have control over your house. You have the right to say, listen, I know you're here. I acknowledge your existence. If you want to communicate with me, you have to do it in a way that's acceptable to the family.
Right.
And again, usually the spirits will understand that and do what you ask them to do. If you want make yourself known to us, tap 3 times on the door. So, I mean, there's things that can be done.
Right. Establishing a communication sounds like the first step.
Oh, it is.
Or one of the first, yeah. I got a question, though. Like, yes. Poltergeist, like, that phenomenon.
That is an interesting phenomenon. And, I mean, poltergeist, is German for noisy ghost. And the theory behind it, when I started in this field, was that a poltergeist event was done by an adolescent female hitting puberty. Their energy is expanding. They're able to affect environment. This usually happens when they're angry, when they're upset. Something changes in the environment for them to affect it. And that's usually what a poltergeist used to be. Now, 20, 30 years later, it's a poltergeist is now anything that moves in the house or makes noises. So it doesn't have to have a particular person centered around the event.
Right.
Now, I used to live in a house back in Minnesota that was haunted. And we bought it knowing it was haunted. And we had several spirits in there, which were very, I wouldn't say benign, but they made themselves known from time to time. For example, they would move the couches around or stack the chairs in the living room. And I've got pictures of all this.
Wow.
Well, one evening, we had an event that happened to my son, who was, I think...
You have been listening to Navigating the Truth, and my guest was John Savage. If you would like to hear the show in its entirety, please go to kcrradio.com and you can access the archives for free. Thank you so much.